You know, the Game Boy has a pretty amazing library. It hadn't been a priority of mine for a long time, but I've really been getting back into it. But these cool little carts are kind of a problem. With their small size and lack of a top label, it's hard to come up with a way to show them off as part of the rest of your collection, or to easily access them. So that's why I set off on a quest to find a better way to display Game Boy games. See, this here's a good example. I used to store my Game Boy games like this for years, and it really doesn't do them justice. Nothing about this makes me want to grab one and play it. I decided that it just won't do.
Try? What are you doing in my house?
That's not important. Look, we gotta talk about these Game Boy games, Dave. I thought you had better ideas than this.
Well, okay, just relax there, Hoss. Why don't you tell me some of the solutions that you've seen for Game Boy games?
Well, the worst are those bins full of Game Boy games that you see at conventions and stores. I just can't be bothered to see if anything good might be hidden in there.
Well, also another thing I've seen at conventions, a lot of vendors will take those big 3-ring binders, they'll put in transparent baseball card sleeves, and actually the Game Boy games will slip right in there.
Yeah, and that's good for finding games, but they're kind of still hidden away in a binder, so that's not what I want to do at home. But now last year, you were using something that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I found these at Target. They're really just kitchen drawer inserts for utensils and things like that. And it's a good way to just thumb through your games, and you can kind of see them, but it's not displaying the cover art completely.
Yeah, and it's a good size, but then you told me about people using golf ball display cases to display Game Boy games.
Yeah, I love that idea because you can actually see the cover art on all of the carts.
Yeah, but as I looked into that, I found that on a lot of units, the space between shelves isn't tall enough. So I looked into cases for other collectibles, like people collect Zippo lighters. I didn't know that. They're almost as tall as a Game Boy cart, so I thought it might be perfect, but there's really no extra clearance at the top of most cases, so I was afraid it wouldn't work.
And then you looked into other displays, like ones that are made for coin slabs.
Which I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't know people were that hardcore about collecting coins, but I guess they are, but it doesn't matter because those fancy display cases were super expensive.
Yeah, so I thought about a different way. Instead of searching for what to display, I just searched for a cheaper material. So I searched Amazon for acrylic display. And what I found was a bunch of displays for nail polish bottles. I don't know, for salons or something? But I thought that with the space in between steps, Game Boy games would lean back just a bit and it might work out, so I ordered one.
It's kind of crazy how well these things work. I ended up with 2 from Amazon, but they shipped from different sellers, which is why this one has an extra row and this one's a bit wider, but they hold the same number of Game Boy carts, 36 without the cases and 30 if you have the cases on. But I was still annoyed that the shelves didn't match.
Yeah, I ordered a second one too, and I got the same wide and tall mismatched combo. Your setup works better with 2 wide ones, mine works better with 2 less wide ones, so I brought this one here so we could make a trade.
Right, and that's gonna match everything up. I did manage to find specific listings for the tall and wide versions of the shelves so you don't end up with mismatched ones. But there's a huge assortment of these online, and you can search up longer ones, taller ones, even ones that hang on the wall. Who'd have thunk that nail polish racks would be the perfect solution for these Game Boy cartridges? My wife didn't know.
Game Boy Advance games don't really work that well because they're so short, but it's not bad if you use some of those third-party cases. Same goes for DS games if you're a monster and have loose carts.
Yeah, you could even display loose UMDs, I guess.
Or Vita games in cases. I feel like there's all sorts of things you could do with it, really.
Hey guys, what about Game Gear games? Atari Lynx games? Neo Geo Pocket games?
What about console games even?
I'll admit, it's nice to have N64 carts that face forward.
So we're using it for Game Boy games, but you could use it for any cartridge-based collection or pretty much anything, really.
Yeah, and if you have a relatively small size collection, it'd be a great way to display your games in a front-facing fashion and show off that awesome cover art.
Yeah, so I'm glad this swap worked out, and I'm looking forward to getting home and setting up my own Game Boy collection with this one.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good, but make sure next time you visit the game room, you kind of, not just break into my house, kind of let me know.
I can do that.
Yeah. It's not that hard. Okay.